welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here in your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wellness.
Well, happy Saturday and welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here on your hometown station. Wow. Starting off a little rough, but we're excited to be with you this Saturday. And every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., sharing what you need to know, want to know, should know about real estate and finance, and so much more. We always bring great guests. We have some great guests for you today, so you definitely want to stay tuned to the show. In fact, we'd like you to join us in the show because we have our custom-built studio right here at Skyline Home Loans, right next to Magic Mountain. You can probably hear the rides in the background. But we'd like you to join us by going to donandgino.com, donandgino.com, donandgino.com. Click on the live stream button, and voila, you can see Don Getling, Gino Fronti, and soon our awesome guest coming up.
Are you going to breathe at all while you talk?
No.
Well, anyways, what you
Never
did
done
forget,
that
because
before.
you covered most of it, but what you forgot is that we started this show nearly 7 years ago to guide you to personal financial wellness. That's the focus of every show, to make sure that you have great advice, because we've all gotten bad advice, and it's been painful, right? So especially in real estate.
Well, that's why we started the show 7 years ago.
And that was a painful time, Don. And 7 years ago, most of our shows were about distress, foreclosures, short sales, credit card debt, bankruptcy. I mean, that's what our shows were about.
Yep.
And today, they're all about strategies and how to succeed and what's important and how to make sure that you don't fail again like so many did back in the past.
Well, and debunking fake news. You're going to hear it all the time, and we'll talk to our guests about this too. I'm sure they'll back us up on this. You're going to hear the media loves tragedy, and they're going to try to scare the heck out of you that the real estate market's just about ready to crash, just like the stock market just ready to crash. A lot of people made a lot of money on that just about ready to crash, just like you can make a lot of money being part of the real estate market. So we brought in an expert. He even wrote his own book. That's pretty cool, because what's really nice, we have our guests coming in. We have Mike, who's been with us for, I don't know. He's been on the show. How many times you been on the show now, Mike?
That's at least 4 times now.
4 times.
Yep.
Our man. He's our man in Sherman Oaks with Skyline Home Loans, Mike Razak, our true expert in the field and the master of helping the loans get through. And he brought his compatriot and a real estate professional, Gordon Meyer, to our show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Very cool. I love your book, because what's cool is the main topic of it is what matters most. The real estate conversation, what matters most. So we're going to talk about that today. Is that all right?
Great, absolutely, yeah.
Very cool.
So what's interesting about that is, we talk about a lot of things. We talk about inventory, we talk about homes, we talk about prices, interest rates, and all these things. And sometimes we lose sight of the basics, right? The human element. The thing that's really important is, why do we buy a home? Why is it important to buy a home? What's important to us? And I think we were touching on that a little bit before the show.
Absolutely. People don't take the time to really find out what other people care about, and so they try this one-size-fits-all. Interest rates are down, there's a good reason to buy a house, when in fact there's so many other reasons why people do it. And I think the lack of communication or empathy for what somebody's going through is a big important thing that we should pay attention to.
Well, I love that. Yeah, I mean, we always dive in. We talked about, some of what's your expertise? What makes you a solid, real estate professional for almost 30 years now? That's hard. You've gone through some ups and downs like I have, because I know you got in the market about the same time I did, the end of the 80s when the market tanked like it did 10 years ago now. And so we've been through it. So it does teach you empathy. It does teach you the importance of why you buy real estate, why you want to hold on to real estate, and also about fear. And now you know what the questions to ask, it seems like, going through all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing is not knowing the answers. I think it's knowing the questions. So having owned my own house, been through ups and downs, as you say, I've had the real experience. Being a little older, I know what people go through. I know the motivation of buying a house for your kids, for school. I know also the buy and hold strategy versus, if I don't buy this house at a deal, I'm going to lose one day. So there's all these different things driving people. And I think once you understand that and get on the same page with somebody, you can help them a lot better, rather than just focusing on all the outside elements, which change all the time. Anyway.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's one of the things we notice happen with people is they become and I'm a former real estate agent as well. So in the real estate side, I think I saw it a little more than on the loan side, but people become hyper-focused about little things, you know, whether an inspection came back and a couple of things were wrong with the house, or the price. And I'm like, are you guys really fighting over $5,000 or $2,000? And
Or the interest rate went up 1/8.
1/8 of a percent.
I'm not
Yeah.
going to buy now.
Yeah, and so
Right.
so you really weren't truly ready to buy a home if those things are the things that are holding you back from buying a home, or maybe it's not the right home for you if you're willing to back out of the transaction for
Right.
a couple of $1,000s. So it's good if you ask the questions because you get to there's a root to that problem, I would assume.
Absolutely. Everybody has a reason for doing something, and sometimes it's just a really silly reason. And somebody told them something, they read something, just because their neighbor got a deal, they feel they have to get a deal. And what happens is people lose out big time. You know, they step over dollars to pick up pennies, and it's the net at the end of the day that matters. It's not whether you bought the house, you know, at $5,000 less than you want to do. It's maybe the interest rate you got is a little lower. So at the end of the day, you're going to be fine. I mean, as long as you buy it right, you're going to be okay.
Well, I mean, just a simple example, and I am a buy and hold real estate investor myself. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you bought at the top of the market in 1988. How would you fare today? You'd still be just fine, right?
You would be if you hung in there. But if you're buying a house to flip it and make a buck, or you're buying a house without doing your due diligence, or you really didn't do your homework, so you don't know if there was a little secret value in there, then yeah, you're subject to one day not being happy. Also, people have to sell their homes sometimes before they're ready.
All right, and if you just tuned in, we're here with Gordon Myers, and he's with Pacific Union International out in Sherman Oaks, and it's kind of nice talking to you about the other side. We talk so much about the Santa Cruz market and stuff, and I know, Mike, both you guys work in the Sherman Oaks and the LA market. Why don't you give us an idea of what's happening in the LA market? Is it as tight inventory as it is here in Santa Clarita? What are you guys seeing out there?
There's a tightness for sure, and from the loan perspective, right? We have that macro view. You know, we're 10,000 feet up, whereas I think with real estate, you have a more intimate approach. So from the loan perspective, you know, we're seeing the loans fall out because the buyers are falling out of or walking and leaving escrow because the inventory is tight, and because the inventory is tight, sellers are trying to sell for a much higher price because they know there's not as much inventory. So we're seeing a lot of strange behaviors going on, and it's because I think just prices are too high. Sellers are asking for a little too much, and buyers are starting to say, hey, you know, I don't know if I want to come to this table.
I love that you brought that up.
I don't know if I want to do
Right.
this now. And what add to the mix that our price point median is about $800,000. So now you have that as well, which is now you're in a higher echelon of buyers, a little more intelligent, a little more savvy, and they may not make that emotional decision. So it's just, I think it's a unique market throughout the United States, and it just makes for a very interesting practice.
Yeah, and good insight. And again, that's Michael Razak with Skyline Home Loans, one of our own, right there in Sherman Oaks. And I love that you guys strategize because the market is an interesting market right now, that you guys work side by side together to make sure you inform the client completely of all his options in one of the most important decisions they're making, wouldn't you say?
No, absolutely. I think a lot of people that should be buying homes, they're not in the market because they're that middle class, so to speak. Your first-time home buyers are the ones that really want to buy a home. They can't. And then those with tons of money that are buying investment properties. I know people that have 5, 6 to 10 houses that they're just able to park their money there and collect rent. So everything's distorted. I mean, the real person who has a young family that needs a house, they're just struggling to find a way how to do that. So yeah, the inventory is very light, and a big part of that is because the people that are selling for the sake of getting a good price are distorting things. I mean, if I'm going to sell my house only if I can get 5 or 10% above what it's worth, I mean, that's really just messing things up.
It does, and that reminds me a little bit about last year, Don, because last year we saw this early in the year too. It's almost a seasonal thing too that happens. Those that really don't want to sell, they put it out at a ridiculous price. Buyers go into escrow because they're desperate, And so they buy out of desperation, and then they get buyer's remorse, and then they
Right.
start feeling. Then they get their real disclosures, and it becomes
Right.
real, and they have to start signing paperwork and spending money, and they freak out. So,
Or it won't appraise, for example.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they have to come up with more cash that they don't have.
Right.
Because as it is, they're going in to try to buy the most house for the least amount of money.
All right, so we have to go to break now, and you don't want to go away because we have two great experts, been in the lending field for a long time. Mike Razak with Skyline Home Loans,
Thanks.
Gordon Myers, who wrote the book on on real estate. He's going to give you hints and tips of what's really important about purchasing a home when we come back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Don't go away.